Welcome to another episode of Mike's Money Picks. Today on the podcast, we are breaking down a brand new event on the PGA Tour schedule. It is the Black Desert Championship being hosted at the Black Desert Resort in Utah. And I bet you can't guess what the key geographical feature is for this golf course. Anyway, we are here to break down this brand new event. We are going to break down the golf course itself, as well as what types of features and what you can kind of look for in the stats in order to pick some winners here at this event. So whether you are playing DFS, whether you are betting, whether you're playing one and done, we're going to have all the information you need in order to kind of pick out the guys who are going to do well here at this event this week. And honestly, last week was a pretty good week for us at the Sanderson Farms Championship. DFS was a slight positive. Betting, we barely missed our top 20 parlay. I had Eric Cole and Steven Yeager, and Steven Yeager double bogeyed 18 in order for me to miss that parlay. But, decent week at the Sanderson Farms. Felt like I had a really good handle on that golf course. And I feel like this week I've got about as good as a handle as anyone can have, given that it is a brand new golf course. So we're going to go ahead and dive in. But first, I do want to let you know, make sure you are subscribed to the channel on YouTube as well as to the audio feed. That way you can get notified when new episodes drop, and you can be here with us for the rest of the PGA Tour's fall swing, as well as all the college football and NFL and soon to come college basketball content that we're going to have here on Mike's Money Picks. Make sure you're subscribed so that you can get all of that. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in and let's talk about Black Desert Resort. All right, so not only is the Black Desert Championship a brand new event, but Black Desert...
Welcome to St. George, Utah.
It was just finished in 2022, so it's really only like 18, 19 months old. It has not been there for a very long time. It was literally built up out of the desert in Utah. And if you're watching on YouTube, we're watching kind of a flyover video as I'm talking about this right now. This is just an absolutely breathtakingly gorgeous golf club. Like, in terms of the views, in terms of the vibes this week, they're going to be immaculate. They're going to be off the charts. And no matter how the golf course ends up playing out scoring-wise, or, whether you want to nitpick the architecture of it, it's going to make for scenic television view. Like, honestly, probably some of the best vistas, some of the best camera shots that you're going to see all year on the PGA Tour. Maybe second to only like Kapalua, because Hawaii is another just beautiful part of the country. Maybe second to Augusta National, because it's just Augusta National. It's just so pristine. It's like you're on another planet almost. But this one is just like breathtakingly stunning with the view. So basically, this course was carved out of a desert, right? And hence the name Black Desert. And the desert itself is called the Black Desert because a lot of the rock is black. It used to be like molten lava, but has since kind of hardened and turned into kind of like a mountainous type area. And Tom Weiskopf came in and basically just built a golf course up out of the desert in Black Desert Resort, just kind of built up out of there, right? This is in southern Utah, and so the altitude is going to be a slight factor this week, not unlike what we saw at the BMW Championship. However, the BMW Championship at Castle Pines was played at about, a mile high above sea level. This is about 3,000 feet above sea level, which is slightly more than what you see in Las Vegas, home of, the Shriners Children's Open, slightly more than what you see at TPC Scottsdale, host the Waste Management Open. So elevation is going to be a factor. So I am going to be factoring in success at those courses in order to kind of look for success this week, because playing in elevation, it definitely is going to impact your yardages. And some guys are just going to be naturally more comfortable with it than not. And you saw that at the BMW Championship, and I think you're going to see that here again this week. Now, here is probably the most unique feature about this Black Desert Championship, though. I think it's going to play quite easy. I'm just being honest. I think it's going to be very, very easy. As an amateur golfer, if I were to go play this course, visually, it's quite intimidating, because if you miss the fairway, you're in the desert, right? You're going to have a lost ball. You're not going to be able to play from the desert. Like, just simply put, you're going to be re-teeing and hitting three, right? Or you're going to be like what I would probably do if I was an amateur, pull up to about where I thought it went, drop it, and play shot three, right? So basically, you're dead if you have a big miss at this course. But the miss that you're going to have to be dead is pretty darn big, and I don't think it's going to be an issue for these pros. These fairways are quite wide. There's rough or surrounding the fairways before you get to the desert. There's virtually no trees. So as long as you keep the ball on planet Earth, you're going to be able to find the fairway or the rough and be able to continue playing. And the rough is not going to pose as a big hazard. I expect it to be cut pretty short. I expect guys to be able to play from the rough quite easily. So really, if off the tee there's no hazards, guys are just going to be able to wail away and hit driver. Like I said, I don't expect the PGA Tour pros to lose many balls or lose many shots OB here at this place. So guys are just going to be able to wail away and hit driver, give them the best second shot in. And the greens themselves are quite large. They are quite, they're going to be slow. They're going to be, quite flat. So I don't see a whole lot of difficulty on the greens. I don't see a whole lot of potentially difficult pin placements. So it's literally just going to be a dart throwing contest in terms of wherever your ball ends up after your first shot, can you throw in a dart from there, put it close, make birdie, and go to the next hole? And it's going to be a birdie fest, in my opinion. I expect the winning score this week to be about what it was last week, probably I think last week was 23 under, so I would expect it to be around that. I do not expect this course to pose much difficulty for the PGA Tour pros. It is a par 71. It is about 7,400 yards. But like I said, with the elevation difference, it's going to play at about 7,000 to 7,100. So really on the scorecard, it might seem like a long course, but it's actually not really a long course at all because of the elevation change. So really, this week, kind of summarize that whole course preview. What we're looking at is we want guys who can just keep it on the planet off the tee and then throw darts and make birdie putts, because that's going to be the name of the game this week. Bonus points if guys have a good history playing in altitude, or guys have a good history, on this type of course. Like, this is still a resort course at its name. It is, hosted at Black Desert Resort. So we're going to look at resort courses. We're going to look at desert courses. We're going to look at elevation courses and throw all that together. Now, I did mention this course was designed by Tom Weiskopf. The other two regularly played courses on the PGA Tour that Tom Weiskopf designed are TPC Scottsdale and TPC Craig Ranch. And TPC Craig Ranch, we know, plays quite easy. TPC Scottsdale, I wouldn't describe as a birdie fest, but it's certainly not difficult. But the difficulty in TPC Scottsdale lies in how firm and fast they can make that golf course, just with how new this place is and how they have to really treat the grass and how they have to water it. This place is not going to play firm and fast. It's going to be very soft, very lush. And so really, I don't see it getting difficulty like you see at TPC Scottsdale. So at the end of the day this week, key stats. Strokes gained approach is going to be one of the most important stats on the PGA Tour week in and week out. I'm going to value that again this week. I think it is wise to value putting this week, but I think these greens are going to be a unique test because they're going to be bent grass. They're going to be very, very slow. So what I'm looking at this week is one of my key stats is birdie or better percentage. Basically, no matter what you did on your shots, did you get the ball in the hole with a birdie? Theoretically, it requires making a birdie putt, right? So birdie or better percentage is a stat that I'm going to be looking at heavy this week. I also want performance in easy conditions, and I want performance at the comp courses. The comp courses are the aforementioned high elevation Vegas course, TPC Summerlin, Phoenix course, TPC Scottsdale, TPC Craig Ranch, designed by Tom Weiskopf, and then the Summit Club, which was the host of the CJ Cup in 2022. Visually looks fairly similar to this course. And, that event was won by Rory McIlroy, second Colin Morikawa, also a Tom Weiskopf design, also a course where guys could just wail away off the tee and then kind of own in on their second shot. So I do think that that's a decent data point to look at, even though not a lot of guys in this field played at that course. All right, so that does it for the course preview. Let's go ahead and dive down the rabbit hole. All right, if you are new here or if you've been with us, the Rabbit Hole is a tool from BetSpertsGolf.com that allows you to kind of make, different custom models with different data points using all kinds of filters and all kinds of conditions. It's been very effective for me this past year in building models and finding some guys that I might not have if I was just looking at the raw data without the ability to filter or, just make custom conditions, right? So I highly recommend checking out the Rabbit Hole if you've not already. Anyway, we kind of threw a lot of our key stats in the Rabbit Hole along with some kind of extra stuff because we do have the ability to filter out and find more conditions. So the first thing that I wanted to look at was strokes gained ball striking in the calendar year 2024. Basically, have you been a good off the tee and a good second shot player in the calendar year 2024? Because I want to give a boost to those guys because they're going to give themselves the most birdie looks this week. And then it's going to come down to making the birdie putt. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Anyway, the top 10 ball strikers in this field: Keith Mitchell, Doug Ghim, Kirk Kyama, Rico Hoey, Chan Kim, Joel Damon, Andrew Novak, Austin Smotherman, Carson Young, and Daniel Berger. Flip that over to just approach for the year 2024. And the list is kind of similar, but also you get some new names. Keith Mitchell and Doug Ghim are still 1-2. Lucas Glover, Grayson Sigg, Patton Kizzire, Andrew Novak, JJ Spaun, Ches Reavie, David Skins, Austin Smotherman round out your top 10. Now, I also wanted to make it just approach on easy golf courses. That's a stat that I like to look at because basically if everybody's hitting the greens, it's hard to gain strokes on approach unless you're throwing darts in there and just giving yourself these tap-in birdie putts, right? So the guys who gain the most strokes on approach on easy courses, Lucas Glover, JJ Spaun, Sam Ryder, Doug Ghim, Chris Kirk, Alex Smalley, Ches Reavie, Ben Griffin, Grayson Sigg, and Keith Mitchell. Now, I also wanted to look at birdie or better percentage for the calendar year 2024 on easy golf courses, and what you end up with is a top 10 list of Michael Thorbjornsen, Taylor Montgomery, Lucas Glover, Chris Kirk, Sam Ryder, Mac Meisner, Stephen Yeager, Bo Hostler, Keith Mitchell, and Justin Lauer. Now, here's where we start throwing in all the different comps, all the different strokes gained conditions, right? So the first thing I wanted to look at was strokes gained only in easy courses over the last 5 years, basically all the relevant parts of these golfers' careers. So how do these guys play in easy courses? Top 10, Seamus Power, Ben Griffin, Harris English, Chris Kirk, JJ Spaun, Daniel Berger, Adam Svensson, Stephen Yeager, Patrick Fishburne, and Patrick Rogers. Then I wanted to look at strokes gained in desert golf courses. On that list, you're going to end up with a lot of Las Vegas guys here on this list, a lot of guys that are local Las Vegas. But number 1, Keith Mitchell. Number 2, Taylor Montgomery, Vegas guy. Number 3, K.H. Lee, great Tom Weiskopf guy. Number 3, Harry Hall, Vegas guy. Paul Barjan, European Tour guy. They do play some desert courses on the European Tour, so that does make a little bit of sense. Bud Cauley, 6, Daniel Berger, 7, Vegas guy. Chris Kirk, 8, Nick Taylor, 8, Tom Weiskopf guy. And then Ben Griffin at number 10. Now, from there, I also wanted to look at high elevation courses. So there's a lot of guys that didn't have enough rounds to measure in on this one. But when you do look at that list, you end up with, again, a lot of Vegas guys in the top 10, a lot of guys that play well at TPC Summerlin in the top 10. Matthew Neesmith, Harry Hall, Martin Laird, Keith Mitchell, Nick Taylor, Daniel Berger, Justin Suh, K.H. Lee, Taylor Montgomery, Aaron Baddeley, and Nate Lashley. I'm rounding out the top 11 because there was a tie for 9th place. Next up, I did want to look at strokes gained total at resort courses because, like I said, this is still a resort course. This is still wide fairways. This is still very little hazard off the tee. So I wanted to kind of factor in those other types of courses as well. Alex Smalley, Harris English, Grayson Sigg, Seamus Power, Patrick Rogers, Bryce Garnett, Justin Lauer, Ben Griffin, Brandon Wu, and Taylor Montgomery are your top 10. And then lastly, I wanted to do strokes gained total in my comp courses. The Summit Club, TPC Craig Ranch, and TPC Scottsdale. I did not use TPC Summerlin because it had been like double counted in like a lot of those stats, so I didn't want to count it again. So I kind of neglected it from that. But I did use the 3 Tom Weiskopf designs, right? Craig Ranch, Scottsdale, Summit Club. So here's who we get for this list: K.H. Lee, Daniel Berger, Nick Taylor, Keith Mitchell, S.H. Kim, Carson Young, Seamus Power, Patrick Rogers, Andrew Novak, and Kirk Kyama rounding out the top 10. Now from there, I wanted to look at strokes gained on a bent grass putting because this is going to be bent grass here this week. The best bent grass putters in this field: Justin Lauer, Mark Hubbard, Pearson Coody, K.H. Lee, Patrick Rogers, Patrick Fishburne, Andrew Novak, Sami Valimaki, and Kevin Kisner and Ben Griffin rounding out your top 10. Now, I did use a putter's baseline to kind of compare to see if there's anybody that gains big from their baseline. Eric Barnes is a big gainer from his baseline. C.T. Pan, Nick Taylor, Paul Barjan, Brandon Wu, Adam Svensson, and Scott Jakeski are kind of the big gains from bent grass. And then minor gains: Chan Kim, Ben Coles, J.J. Spaun, Ryan Moore. All right. Now, strokes gained putting on slow greens is another thing I want to look at because I do expect him to play quite slow this week with how lush and unfirm and fast this course is going to play. Kevin Kisner, Peter Malnati, Justin Lauer, Sung Yul No, Roger Sloan, Bo Hostler, Seamus Power, Paul Barjan, Bryce Garnett, and Lanto Griffin as your top 10. Now, throw all of that in a model, and let's take a look at what we get. We ended up with our number 1 golfer this week being Seamus Power, and I am fully on board with that. Seamus Power is a guy who is coming in pretty good form. He is at his best in weak fields. He is at his best at short golf courses, which I do expect this to play as. And oh, by the way, he's one of the best fall players on the PGA Tour in general. You look at what he's been doing recently. His approach play has been hit or miss, but when it's a hit, it's really a hit. And he's really actually had some good finishes even without the approach play being dialed in, because he's been super dialed in off the tee, gained strokes ever since the Travelers Championship, and he's been great with the putter as well. So really, there's not a lot of nits to pick with Seamus Power. He's good in easy conditions. He's good in weak fields. He's good in resort courses. He's good at desert courses. Like, he just has the most balanced resume when you look at anybody this week, and he would be my pick to win this golf tournament. Ben Griffin is my number 2 golfer, and he's an example of a guy that really fit last week and really kind of makes sense that he's going to be back again this week. So last week we mentioned how he was a great Bermuda putter. Well, guess what? He's an even better bent grass putter. He's also at his best in easy courses. His weakness is honestly his driver being a little bit inaccurate, and he's not very long with it. So at a course where he can afford to not be good off the tee, he can gain it all back on approach and with the putter. The Sanderson Farms was a little bit disappointing, T37. He just never had it dialed in from a ball striking perspective, but his short game was really great. And really this week, like I said, I think off the tee play is not going to matter a whole lot. So I do think that if he can dial in his approach play, which he's shown the ability to do, then he should be able to have a good finish, because I expect the other parts of his game to be pretty good. Next up, number 3 golfer is going to be Justin Lauer. So Justin Lauer is one of the best putters in the field. He's one of the best birdie makers in the field, and he's coming in pretty hot. He was able to kind of rally over the weekend at the Sanderson Farms Championship, finished 28th, finished 7th at the Procore, 33rd at the Wyndham. So this is a guy coming in on really good form. His approach play has been really dialed in. The putter is always going to be dialed in. So really pretty confident about him sitting there number 3. I think he's going to be a guy that I get a ton of DFS involvement with this week. I think he's a very solid top 20 bet this week, because really with just how good he's going to putt, all you need him to do is just tread water with the rest of his game, and he's going to be okay, and he's going to be able to turn in a decent finish. Keith Mitchell is number 4. He is the highest priced golfer in the DraftKings field. He is the number 1 on the betting board as well. Not shocking when you look at the ball striking numbers, and he very nearly won the Sanderson Farms. But like, the story is the same with Keith pretty much like all the time, right? Like, he's eternally a great ball striker, and he just never really gains with the putter. Well, guess what? He gained with the putter pretty big at the Sanderson Farms, and it still wasn't enough to win. So I do think that Keith is a pretty solid DraftKings play this week, but I would not be betting him outright to win. I just think that it's a really difficult path for him to win a golf tournament, because like, he never seems to have all 4 facets of his game all together. If he ever does, then that would be the week that he would win, which would be a pretty good shot this week. Doug Ghim is a guy that I really like a lot as well. The ball striking numbers are tremendous. The recent form is but he's a guy that's from Vegas. He played his college golf at the University of Texas. So he is well-versed in playing in desert conditions. He's well-versed in playing in elevation. And the ball striking, is going to be there. He's kind of like Keith Mitchell light version, right? If he ever just brings the putter, he has enough upside to win, but we just never really see him bring the putter. And the weird part about Doug Ghim is people forget, like, 5 years ago at the University of Texas, people were talking about him as the next big thing, and Scotty Scheffler was the second best golfer on that team. And, there's just the trajectory of their careers totally went in opposite directions after that. But, Doug Ghim, very talented. Do not forget about the Ghim Reaper. JJ Spaun, number 6. We loved him last week, and he really broke our heart by WDing after round 1. Look, I kind of get why he did it. At a birdie fest like that, he was +3 after round 1. He would have had to go out and shoot like 62 if he wanted to make the cut. Clearly, he just didn't feel like trying. I don't know if, there was an injury or like, not feeling well or something like that, but not a guy that I necessarily want to go back to, even though he does really fit the course. Nick Taylor's number 7, solely due to his ability to pop at Tom Weiskopf designs and at desert tracks. This is a guy that, if you want to take a trip down Narrative Street, he missed the President's Cup team, and he probably isn't all too happy about that. He's probably like really ready to show that he can play well, and should have been a member of that team. He missed the cut the last time out at the Procore Championship, where he was in the same situation. So not necessarily the best narrative, but if you're looking for one, there would be one. Mark Hubbard's 8. He's like the light version of Keith Mitchell and Doug Ghim. He never really seems to come in the top 10 or top 20 though. he's not a guy that I play a lot in DFS. He's not a guy that I bet a lot just because he seems to very consistently get you 30th place finishes. So if you're in the market for a top 30 bet, Mark Hubbard, there you go. Chris Kirk, number 9. I think he's one of the more talented golfers in the field. A win at Kapalua, which is a resort course. Prolific birdie maker. I think this is a pretty good spot for Chris Kirk. I'm definitely going to get some DraftKings exposure to him. Chan Kim and Andrew Novak are 10 and 11. And what I will say about the two of them is they are both guys that are really good ball strikers. And if they can just find a way to putt for a week, they're going to be okay. Now, Novak has good history at Tom Weiss golf courses. Chan Kim has good history at Birdie Fest. They kind of even each other out on that. But if, they're just able to flip the putter for a week, then these are two guys that could win a golf tournament. Kirk Kyama is number 12. So Kirk Kyama, when you look at the history of his career, is at his best at golf courses that are driver heavy off the tee and has very clearly defined hazards. Like he won at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, where a lot of the hazards were water or thick rough. And so it was very obvious, hey, don't hit it in the thick rough. Don't hit it in the water. He's played well at the Scottish Open, links condition. Hey, don't hit it in the fescue. This is another course with a very clearly defined hazard. Don't hit it into the desert. So I think this is a pretty good spot for Kyama. I think that a lot of other people are probably just going to skip past him because a lot of the other guys on the DraftKings board around him in pricing are going to be much more popular. They're in much better form. But Kyama, I think this is the type of course that suits his game pretty well. Comes in at 12th in my model. I'm okay with that. Alex Smalley, 13th. This is a guy who plays easy course as well. He also got a big-time boost from how he played at the Sanderson Farms. So at the Sanderson Farms, he really was great off the tee, on approach, and with the putter en route to a 5th-place finish. This is kind of a guy that finds form and holds it for a little bit. So I kind of don't mind going back to Smalley just because, just having faith in him being able to hold that form again. Sam Ryder is 14, and this is a guy that, the models continue to love, but the performances continue to just not. He missed the cut at the Sanderson Farms, which was his 4th straight missed cut. Lost strokes in every category, not looking good for him, but long term, the model seems to suggest that he's in a pretty good spot for this course. So I don't really know what to make of Sam Ryder. He might be a super low owned Hail Mary DFS play at 6,800. That would be really interesting. All right. Now there are 3 guys that I want to talk extensively about and then probably call it a day. Actually, there's probably a few more after that, but Daniel Berger is the first up. So Daniel Berger in his prime, 2-3 years ago, was probably a top 20 golfer on the PGA Tour, right? Came back this year from injury, and it was not good. You can see the results for yourself. They were not good. Ends up with a month off in between the Wyndham and the Procore. Misses the cut at the Procore. Takes another month off from the Procore to the Sanderson Farms Championship. 7th place, super consistent, gain strokes in every category. Says that he's 100% back. This is a guy who has played historically well at Tom Weiss golf courses, played historically well at Birdie Fest, played historically well in elevation. He checks off a ton of boxes. And really the fact that a lot of my numbers factored in his poor 2024 form, and he still came in at this spot in my model, to me says a lot about how well he sets up long-term for this golf course. And so if you think that Daniel Berger of 2022 is back, then Daniel Berger is a guy that to me has the upside to win this event. And I believe he's at about 61 right now in terms of an outright winner. And I think that's a really good bet for a guy who arguably you could argue is the most talented golfer in the field. Harry Hall at number 16 is a Vegas guy. He did win at was it the ISCO championship or was it the ISCO championship? It was the Barbasol at Keene Trace in Kentucky, which is another course. The views are totally the opposite. It's, Kentucky, it's not a desert in Utah, but the format's kind of the same. It's a super wide course for giving off the tee, where the name of the game is to make a lot of putts on slow bent grass greens, and he was able to do that this year. He's also been great in his career in Vegas. I thought he was going to come in a little bit cheaper on DraftKings, but I love Harry Hall. I love how he sets up for this event. He is going to be a guy that I play a lot of in DraftKings at 8,400. Rounding out the top 20, Eric Van Rooyen, another guy who plays at resort courses really well. Grayson Sigg, another guy who is a pretty good ball striker. K.H. Lee, who is like the king of Tom Weiss golf designs, won twice at TPC Craig Ranch. Elite finishes at TPC Scottsdale. I'm willing to give him a shot because he's clearly comfortable with this type of golf course. And then 20 is Carson Young, rounding out the top 20 in my model. Now, I did want to talk about just a few guys. I think Bo Hostler is going to be super popular this week in DraftKings, but I don't necessarily know if I want to go back to him. I was all over him at the Sanderson Farms. I don't necessarily know if I want to go back to him after the kind of heartbreak that he had at the event in Sanderson Farms. Patrick Fishburne is 9,600. He is a Utah local. He's coming in on really good form. Everybody's going to play him on DraftKings this week. Everybody's betting him to win. The mob doesn't love him. However, he also has a very small sample size because he's got, a very young PGA Tour career. But he's a guy that if you're looking for a narrative, he's a local. I would hope that he's played in this area. And so he's a guy that might have experience playing in elevation. Might be a pretty good look at $9,600 on DraftKings. And then after that, I want to talk about, where is he? I think Chandler Phillips is live at this golf course. Don't really know exactly why. Just when you look at the courses he's played well at, they kind of fit the bill of very clearly defined hazards, a lot of wedges in hand, and that's going to be the case here this week. I think it's a pretty good shot for Chandler Phillips at 7,600. And then Ben Coles is another guy that I love this week. I love Ben Coles this week. He's a great bent grass putter. He's at his best at easy conditions. His best finish of the year was at TBC Craig Ranch, was his Tom Weiskopf design. He's going to be one of my favorite DFS plays in the low value range. All right, but that is going to do it for this episode, y'all. And so hopefully we gave you guys all the information that you need in order to build some winning DFS lineups and make some winning bets for the Black Desert Championship. I do want to tell you guys, if you do want to get more information from me, there are places you can get that. You can follow me on Twitter at Mike's Money Picks. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you have on there. I'm also in the Fantasy Corner Discord. The link is in the description. We talk DFS for a lot of different sports in there. Golf is one of them. College football chat, the NFL chat have been really jumping in there lately as well. I also do write an article for my Patreon every single week where I give the final top 10 for my model because I'm going to tinker with it throughout the week, as well as my DFS score plays for every PGA Tour tournament, as well as every NFL and college football DFS slate. But all right, that's going to do it for this episode, y'all. If we were able to give you guys some good information, please hit the like button on YouTube, rate and review the audio, subscribe to the podcast. That way you can be with us for the rest of the PGA Tour season and all of our NFL and college football and eventually college basketball content as well. But that's going to do it for this episode, guys. Really looking forward to watching this golf tournament. It's going to look great on TV. It's a super unique course. New event. Really excited about it. And I hope you guys are too. And I hope I gave you guys all the information you need to pick out some winners this week. But that's going to do it for this episode, y'all. Best of luck to y'all with your DFS plays and your bets at the Black Desert Championship. Thank you guys for watching and listening to this point, and I will see you guys next time.